So what I was telling, to first of all, good evening everyone, and we have been doing these session where we are solving some case studies around AI or around digital transformation or around AI-led digital transformation, and we're trying to solve it from the consulting perspective. So while I say consulting perspective, we are not just saying that where to implement, but we are also saying what to implement, why to implement, and how to prioritize that. And lot of questions, lot of recruiters nowadays are asking a lot of questions around that, be it McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Big Four, or even corporates, right? They are they are much more interested in asking these kind of case studies where they want to see that their client, because their clients are facing the same problem, right? So what we are going to do today is, what we are going to today cover is a very important buzzword, which is agentic AI. So you know one so agentic AI, as you might have been hearing across the across the media and every places, that it has become very famous, and it's the buzzword. It is also important that companies adopt it, but for companies to adopt, right, they can't just adopt it like that, right? They need to really strategize how to adopt agentic AI, what should be the process to adopt AI, how to prioritize, how to design, and all those things, right? So we are going to see that in today's case study, with the help of a case study. And today we are going to see the case study of a retail bank. So how a retail bank can apply agentic AI, or can use agentic AI. That's the case we are going to discuss today. And I would like all of you to be as interactive as possible. So about me, I think Mehak has already, Suman has already introduced myself. So my name is Alok, and I am an IIM Bangalore alumnus, and I worked in PricewaterhouseCoopers as engagement manager. And then after that, around last 8 years, I have been doing a lot of mentoring. Right, I am running GoCrackIt, and I'm doing a lot of mentoring. So that's about me. I'm not going to delve time on what is a case study, what are the characteristics of the case study. If you want to know that, I have kind of covered this a lot in my previous session. So you can just go to YouTube. Maybe we can share the YouTube link, and any case study related video, if you see, I would have already explained all those things. Okay. So don't worry, but just to give you a quick thing, case study is a business problem generally given by consulting, in the consulting or any other interview, and they will be inspired by the real world problem, and they are there to design, to evaluate your problem solving skill, your tolerance for ambiguity, and your communication skill during that ambiguity. And it can be from any industry and any domain, right? So that's the crux of it. Now let's directly jump to today's case study. So let's say this is a case study. So your client is a leading retail bank, which is facing operational costs, higher operational costs, slow customer service, and growing competition from AI native fintech companies. Now the CEO of this retail bank wants to explore agentic AI, autonomous AI agents that can interact with customers, coordinate workflows, and execute tasks across. However, leadership is concerned about what would be the ROI, whether there will be any compliance risk, because banking being a regulatory environment, right? Whether there will be a compliance risk, and what would be the implementation complexity, because as you know, right, these are the leading retail banks. They are very, very big and old banks, legacy banks, right? So there will be a lot of complexity in developing these kind of solutions, right? So, and let's say, yeah, this case study is given to you, and your objective is to determine whether the bank should adopt agentic AI. If yes, where should it adopt? What should be the criteria? How should it adopt? Right? And all those things will come into picture, right? So in crux, there is a retail bank. It is facing issues like rising operational costs, low customer service, and a lot of competition from AI native fintechs. And its CEO wants to adopt agentic AI, but they are not clear about ROI, they're not clear about compliance risk, and they're not clear about implementation. And you need to basically decide whether to use agentic AI, where to use agentic AI, when to use agentic AI, and how to mitigate some of this risk. Okay, so that's the case. So now we will try to solve it in a way which is expected by any case interviewer. But before that, would like to know from all of you, if you can tell me what would be your initial thoughts, right? What would you do if the case is given to you in the interview? What will be some of the initial steps would you like to take in this kind of case? Anyone, you can unmute yourself or you can put it in the chat or whatever is convenient for you. What would be your first instinct? What will you do if this case is given to you? Anyone? You can
So
put it. Yes, go ahead, please.
analyze the market.
Okay, analyze the market. Which market? Banking market, is it?
Yes, the banks that are using agentic AI already, and what are the outcomes of it, or maybe like something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So basically, benchmarking study in simple words. Okay, benchmarking of other banks, of the similar banks. Another could be, Sumita said, right? Acquire knowledge about bank and AI world. Talk with some expertise, employ people. Yes, that you have to do as a background. But let's say in the case study, case interview, let's say you need to tell what you will be doing, right? So what should be your initial instinct? What should you do? Okay. So I will tell you maybe a more kind of a comprehensive framework to look at which people are expecting hiring AI expert would read it thoroughly and then research on the topic. Yeah, so all of you are correct. But now consider this as a situation where you are in the interview room and this is the case given to you, right? What will you do? So now recruiter is expecting you to follow a certain pattern or follow a certain process to solve any case study. So let's look at them. Okay. So this is the kind of pattern or this is the kind of structure they are looking at, that you should ask some clarifying question. You should understand what is this objective from you, what is the structure, which structure you can use, uh, which data would you analyze, what data will you analyze, and how will you recommend it. This is a typical structure you may want to use in your case study solution. So let's start with clarifying question. If this case is given to you and your first task is to clarify, you ask some clarification question to the recruiter in order to improve your understanding of the problem statement, case interview problem statement. What would be some of those questions? What could be your top 2 or 3 questions? In order to understand this problem even more fully, or if you have any doubts in the problem itself, problem statement itself, and you have to ask some clarifying question in order to make yourself even more better understanding the problem statement. What could be some of the questions? So you can maybe tell me what could be some of the questions which you may want to ask in order to clarify the case interview question. What could be some of the clarification question? Anyone? Or is it clear to all of you? Or is there any question which you may want to ask uh, to improve your understanding of the problem? Private or government back? Very good. Excellent. So this question is basically you're trying to understand the context itself, that whether this retail bank, reading retail bank is a private or this thing. What is the customer base? Again, contextual understanding question. Good. What else? What else? Right? So the first point is that we need to understand the problem clearly. So I mean, before that, you may want to paraphrase the problem statement just to make sure that you have heard the problem correctly. You can say, if I understand you correctly, this is the task, and then you kind of repeat whatever you heard. Because let's say you're making notes and everything, you're just reading it out and then saying, this is what I heard. This is what is that a correct understanding, or did I miss anything? So you paraphrase it, and then you ask some clarifying question. Some of the clarifying question, apart from what you have asked, could be, for example, what is the primary objective of agentic AI? What do you want to achieve with agentic AI? Is there any specific priority? Is it reducing costs, improving customer experience, or increasing employee productivity? Why do we want to do it? Is there any specific thing in your mind? That's very important to understand. What business process today are most manual, most repetitive, most customer incentive, or causing a lot of inefficiency? What are those processes? Can you tell me? Or is there any, what kind of regulatory or compliance constraint we should keep in mind when we are using agent AI? Or you can also ask, as somebody said, what is the size of bank? Is it a government bank or private bank? So basically, you're trying to do, you're asking some smart questions to understand the problem itself, right? And you're asking questions One, to understand the context of the bank, number of customer, old or new, state government or banking, private. And you're also trying to understand some of the questions for the specific of the problem. What is your objective? Which process do you want to attack? What are the compliance issues which you need to keep in mind, right? And any other question, what other banks are doing, right? So these are some of the questions you may ask. Some of the clarification the recruiter can give. Some of the thing they can say you assume or it is not relevant, it's okay, right? So that is one. Another question, whether all of us are aware of what is agentic AI. Let's say they have thrown a technology term which you're not aware of. So first of all, how many of you are aware or not aware? How many of you are not aware of agentic AI completely? If not, you can check that also. Maybe a bit politely that, okay, I understand what is AI. I understand. I have some idea of agentic AI, but could you please explain in this context what you mean by agentic AI? How many of you are not aware of agentic AI? Just a question from all of you. You can put yes or no in the chat. If you're aware, say yes. If you're not aware, say no. And my point is this only. If there is a term given in the case study which you're not aware of, ask question. Ask question. Right, ki, sir, and you can ask it in a bit more diplomatic way. You don't have to say, ki, sir, I don't know what is agentic AI. You can say, ki, sir, generally I understand what is AI, but I really want to know more about what do you mean by agentic AI in the context of retail bank. What do you want to achieve? What exactly does it do? Right. So this is how thoda sa, properly you can ask this question. So I'll tell you what is agentic AI and I'll show you an example of agentic AI in the coming slide. Right. So let me first give you a kind of a definition of agentic AI. So agentic AI refers to AI systems. So that's an important term, AI systems. Okay, and I'll show you what it is. That can automatically understand goals, make decisions, coordinate tasks, and take actions across systems. No, don't worry. This might be a bit difficult. So let me give you an example to make you understand what is agentic AI. See, all of you use ChatGPT, right? All of you use. Yeah, I will tell you. No worries. I will tell you. All of you might be using ChatGPT. Now, what happens in ChatGPT? There is a chat interface. You give prompt, right? You give prompt and it gives you some output of that prompt. Whatever question you have asked, it gives you some output. Now, if you have to work on that output, you will again give some prompt. You will again give some prompt. Based on that prompt, it will again give you some output. And this process will go on like this. This is a chat interface where there is always your input is required. Now, one more level of it is like this. For example, let's say you want to create a report on marketing. You have to create a marketing report. You can create an AI agent, not agentic AI agent, and you can tell the boss, you go to websites, search, you create a draft, and based on that draft, maybe you create a report and give me that report. So that is one AI agent. Let's say its name is market researcher or market project creator. So it creates a report for you. So this is called AI agent workflow, where you're giving AI agent to research, write, and finalize a report for you. Now, the third way could be that instead of telling this to one AI agent, so in this AI agent is doing one work for you, which is giving you a report. Now, in this is called AI agent. In agentic AI, what you may do, you create 3 or 4 small agents, focused agents. One agent will do research, another agent will write a draft, and another agent will do the review. And all of these 3 will together then give you, after coordinating with each other, after understanding the goal, which is creating a marketing report, after making a decision based on your criteria, the reviewer will see the review, he will take some decision, the researcher will research something, he will take some decision, and there will be a lot of coordination between these 3 AI agents. Now this system, where there are multiple agents are working together as a system to achieve a goal. Final goal is creating that AI report, that AI, that marketing report. This system is called Agentic AI system. Is it clear? In chat, GPT, you give some input, it gives some output, then you give some feedback to that input, then again it gives output and it goes on. So you are always involved in this. In one AI agent, you give every work, everything to one AI agent saying you create a marketing report, it will create a marketing report. In agentic AI, the same report you will maybe design different AI agents, one for research, one for draft, one for review. And these three agents will coordinate with each other, understand the goal, coordinate with each other, take decision in terms of quality, again go back and improve it a bit iteratively, and finally they will give you a report which is much better. So this is called an agentic AI workflow. Now is it clear? Yes or no? Then we'll go to next slide. Then we'll come back to our then we
Yes,
will
sir.
then we will come back to our right. So agentic AI is multiple agent system who are working collaboratively with each other to solve a given problem, to achieve a given goal. And how it is different than chat, how it is different in AI agent is what we have discussed. Okay. So great. Clear all. Okay. So this is the part of clarification which you have asked the recruiter. Now you're clear about all the clarification question. Let's say they also tell you whatever question they asked you, they gave you some more information. For example, first question we asked was, what are the bank's primary objective for adopting agentic AI, whether it is reducing cost, whether it is improving customer experience or increasing employee productivity? So let's say the answer is the bank wants to reduce operating cost, improve and increase. So basically they want to do everything. Which business process today are the most manual, most repetitive, most customer intensive, or which has lot of issues? So customer service, loan processing, and internal support functions are currently the most manual and inefficient process. Let's say that's the more information they are giving. They may choose to say, "Ki, I don't know all these things. You just tell me how do you want to do it." That may also happen. What regulatory or compliance constraint exists around autonomous AI-driven decision making? So the bank must maintain human oversight, auditability, and regulatory compliance for AI-driven decision. So whatever AI is, let's say reviewing or decision making is happening, or it is saying yes, we should give loan to this person versus it says okay, we should not give loan to that person. That has to be reviewed by human as per compliance. It should be auditable that yes, human has reviewed it, and it should be compliant with whatever regulation are there, right? So these are some of the things which you will be given. Now you are given. Now the next point is, so now the clarification is done. Now the objective. So although your objective is given very clearly in the case interview itself, that your objective is to determine whether the bank should adopt agentic AI, which use case to prioritize, and how to implement it responsibility at scale. It is very important that at this point of time, before you creating a framework, you double check with the recruiter, and sometimes objective is not so clear also. Objective of this case, what is expected from you is what, when I say objective, this is what I meant. So what is the objective of this case? So you should be asking maybe interviewer, so okay, you want me to determine whether the bank should adopt agentic AI, which use case to prioritize, and how to implement it responsibility at scale. Generally, at this point of time, the recruiter will give you a very specific objective. Okay, you let me know how can I use let's say whatever agentic AI for this case or that case, or yeah, you just tell me how will you prioritize when there are different cases are involved. So at this point of time, recruiter, you should be confirming with the recruiter interviewer that this is what is expected from you in this case. So that's a very important step which you need to take. So now you have done the objective. Now you need to come up with a structure, a framework. What are two or three things or four things you would analyze, or you would, what are the three, four buckets? So think like that. What are 3 to 5 buckets would you like to analyze in order to tell this recruiter that yes, we should use agentic AI, we should use agentic AI this way, this place, we should prioritize this use case or that use case. Okay. what could be that framework, or what could be those 3 to 4 factors? And now framework could be anything. It's not that there is one framework which you need to use. But in your opinion, what are the structured way to determine that should we use agentic AI or not? What are those 3, 4 factors? Could somebody tell me? Put it in the chat or unmute yourself and tell me. And tell me 2, 3 factors, not one factor. What are 2, 3, 4, 5 factors would you look at to decide whether to use agentic AI, where to use agentic AI, and if to use agentic AI, what should be kept in mind? What are the factors would you look at? That will be your structure. That will be your framework. Would you tell to, which you will tell to recruiter? Okay, tell me 3 things, only 3 things. Nature of task. Okay, so tell me 3 things, not one thing. Okay, what are the 3 buckets would you look at? And there is no one rule. Okay, you can say anything which comes to your mind, but which should be logical. So nature of task, yes, but what are the other things you would look at after apart
So
from that?
cost, so we will also look at the cost because we have to reduce operating costs and adopting agentic AI. If we adopt it and that, if it would cost more than what we need to reduce, then that is of no use. Then
Exactly. So that's a good point, and Parth has given good point. ROI of agentic AI, and Amandeep, you have also said correct things. So Parth has given ROI of agentic AI, correct. Cost of agentic AI, which is kind of included in ROI. ROI means how much is the investment, how much is the return. So it's kind of not messy. It's not different, right? So you can avoid one. If you're using ROI, you don't need cost, right? I mean, cost is already included in ROI. So when you're calculating ROI, you will definitely calculate cost, right? Impact of agentic AI. So again, when we say impact, you are maybe talking about benefit. It is somehow kind of related with the ROI only. But great, but good.
Yes.
Check if data is
So
effective.
if you would ask me what are the key factors I would take in note for, is first thing is process complexity. Now I would
Excellent.
see whether the workflow is standardized, because when you are putting an agentic AI into workplace, the thing is that you have to write an algorithm in which the first step, second step, and everything should be noted down properly. So first thing, we look at the workflow. Can it be standardized? Second thing is the data, because all of these AI play with the data sets. If the AI doesn't have any data to take from or take decisions from, it's of no use. Third thing is the automation potential. Can it be automated end to end? If it is not, then it's kind of like a waste of money. And fourth thing I'd like to say is human dependency.
Excellent.
Because when it comes to banks, there's a lot of regulations. Because even if a human is trying to suggest something to a normal, regular, independent, rational consumer, he has to have certain certifications, because you can't give investment decisions like that itself. So you have to understand how much human approval also is required for the decisions the AI takes.
Excellent, Rajat. Thank you so much. Very good thought process. Now, if we see your recommendation, process complexity, whether data is available or not, or automation potential, all 3, I can say it as a feasibility. Okay, right? Whether it is feasible or not. Fourth is human dependency. Now, if I see all of you, whatever you said, ROI, cost, the task, which task to this thing, let me tell you, maybe if you combine all those things, you may come up with a framework. Whatever you all said, if you combine, then you will be a framework. For example, what is the business value? Kind of related with ROI. Which use case should be prioritized? Kind of related with the task, which I think Amandeep said, and then ROI path has said. Feasibility in risk, which kind of Rajat you said, and the implementation strategy. How will you implement it? Where the human dependency and the compliance will also, or I mean, human dependency and compliance will actually come in the feasibility and risk, and then the implementation strategy means how will we go about implementing it. So what I'm trying to say is all of you are correct in the unit level. Try to come up with a 2, 3, 4 factors which are independent to each other but very important as a whole to analyze the problem, and that is called MISI. If you don't know what is MISI, mutually exclusive, there are 4 factors which are kind of mutually exclusive but collectively exhaustive, meaning if you see these 4 factors, you will be able to maybe determine whether to do agentic AI in retail bank or not. So if you want to know more about MISI, I will suggest a book which is available in the just PDF, the McKinsey way. If you're not sure of it, maybe read for a couple of hours. It's a great book which you can read. But that's how you are creating your structure. So now your structure is ready that I will look at business value, that why should we adopt agentic AI. Then I will look at which use case should I prioritize, where should I agentic AI be applied, and feasibility and risk. What is the feasibility? What is the risk to it? Because banking is a regulatory audience, client, industry, and implementation study. How do we scale it? How do we do small work versus higher, like large work? So that's the kind of thing you are doing in this testing. So in the business value, what is the cost reduction potential? What is the improvement, the benefits, right? What is the improvement potential in the customer experience? What is the maybe improvement in the employee productivity? What is the competitive pressure from fintech? How important it is to do it, otherwise we'll lose market share to competition. And what will be the investment? Right? That will determine your ROI or the business value. Second is use case penetration. Where do we use it? Right? How do we evaluate? How do we evaluate that which use case should we use first? Should we go for customer service agent? Should we go for loan processing assistant? Should we go for internal employee co-pilots? How do we determine it? And that will be determined based on some of these factors. What is the business impact? What is the complexity? What is the risk in it? And what is the data readiness for these kind of things? So we need to determine the use case prioritization based on some of these metrics. Next is the feasibility and risk. What are the regulatory constraints? What are the security and privacy constraints? Very important for this is what is the human oversight requirement? What is the data quality and integration? What Rajat has said. What is the issue of hallucination and decision risk? So this we need to analyze before we determine. And last but not the least, how do we implement it? What kind of pilot should we run versus when we do enterprise rollout? At what point of time we will know that we are ready? Governance and monitoring. How will we govern? Change management, because this is a very old, let's say, bank. How do you ensure that whatever we are implementing, employees are using it or not? Very, very important in any new change which is being brought in this thing. How do we track KPIs and how do we scale it? What could be that roadmap of 6 months, 12 months, and 18 months to 24 months? So these are the kind of maybe questions or the buckets would you like to analyze for determining whether to do agentic AI in this bank or not. Now we are moving from a structuring. So there might be some discussion with the recruiter. He may want to understand more about whatever things you are saying, just to see your thought process and your approach. Once he is satisfied, now he or she will try to move to analyze. He or she may say, okay, now let's say you need to prioritize some use cases. What data would you require and how will you prioritize it? So you might say something, I need this data, that data, or generally what may also happen, they will give you their own data, whatever data they have, right? So let's say they give you this data, that let's say there are 3 use cases: customer service agent, loan processing agent, internal employee co-pilot. Their current annual cost is $120 million, $80 million, and $50 million. If they implement AI, the expected AI impact would be 30% reduction, cost reduction, 40% processing cost reduction, and 20% productivity outcomes. And the implementation cost is 20, 25, 10, and the risk level is medium, high, and low. Now, just tell me quickly, it's very simple calculation. What is the total cost in absolute value reduction in this case? If 120 is total cost and 30% is the reduced cost, the cost is, the cost will be reduced by 30%. So what will be your cost reduction? The absolute value?
No.
Yeah, tell me. 36, right? The 30% cost reduction, the 30 into 120, 36. In this case, what is the cost reduction? Right? 32. And in this case, what is the cost reduction? 10, right? So now you have the absolute value, and this is the calculation. This is the calculation, 36, 32, 10. This is the calculation, and you already know the cost. here. So if you calculate a rough ROI, you'll see 36 by 20, 1.8, 32 by 25, 1.3, 10 by 10, 1x is your this thing. Now, in this case, this is a kind of a analysis you have done. Now, based on this analysis, you may want to tell that which use case would you like to prioritize and why. What would be your priority? Which one would you take? Now, that's where you are linking your analysis with your decision making. So that's a very important step from the recruiter perspective. So how do you decide, for example? So which one would you would you like to go? Would you like to go with customer service agent? Would you like to go first with a loan processing agent? Or would you like to go with a employee co-pilot? Right? So that's where you would may want to go with, in this case, it is clear that see, these two are better. These two are better ROI in terms of this is 1.8 with 20 million cost, you are getting 36 million, with 25 million, you are getting 32 million, which is good, comparable, right? But if you see, you would also have to prioritize the risk. You may not want to go with a very risky maybe ROI. So because you're just implementing, this is the first time you're doing something like this, right? So you may want to say that since anyways ROI is better and risk level is not so high, maybe you might want to say that I would like to go with this, right? I may want to go with this. Now it's not always number. It may happen, let's say 1.3 is here and 1.8 is here. Still, you may want to go with this because you are not so sure in terms of whether it will work or not. If you're not so sure, you may not want to take most risky assignment first. You may want to take maybe low even, or if you're not totally sure, then you may still want to go with low also sometimes. But assuming that our capability is there, so that also requires some context understanding how much is our capability. With those assumptions, let's say you may want to decide that, okay, let me go with the customer service agent first, which is your recommendation, because it has a good ROI, it is medium risk, and it has a customer event, and then the pilot and whatever it is. Delay fully autonomous loan processing until governance and monitoring capabilities mature. Okay. So, that is this. Now, there is no wrong answer, by the way. You can still tell your logic and you go ahead with this. Now, a recruiter may ask you a curveball, right? Okay, this I'll tell you in some time, but let me complete this phrase. So, recruiter may have some, like they just want to put you in this thing. They may say, why do you want to go with this thing? Why don't you go with the loan processing, that's where the fintech competitors are already scaling AI aggressively. Why we are not taking that route? Why aren't we risking falling behind by delaying this loan processing use case? They may ask you this question. They definitely may want to challenge you. Now, in that case, don't get buckled down with that challenge, right? And don't say, okay, yes, I think you're right, let's do it. You tell your thought process that I agree that speed is strategically important, but in banking, the cost of compliance failure can outweigh short-term efficiency gain. My recommendation, prioritizing, sequencing, start with medium risk, high value use case like customer service, then build governance, monitoring, organizational trust, and then scale it to higher risk autonomous workflow like loan processing. This will reduce the execution risk, and this being a regulatory, the biggest, trust is very important in this industry because people are putting money with you. So I think this is what you should do. So you should defend it logically. Don't say, okay, you're right, we should do that, right? So that should be your approach for maybe handling the recruiter's objection. And this is nothing but how will you, let's say, do kind of a customer customer service agent. How will you create a customer service agent? So let's say there are 4 steps. First step is customer raises a query. through app, chat, voice. Then AI understand and investigate issue. It understand what is the intent of this issue, what is the it access the customer system wherever the data is. It analyzes the transaction data. Then it recommends or execute resolution. If it is a simple case, it resolves it automatically. If it is not a simple case, it triggers workflow to maybe tell somebody, or it escalates risky case to some more human experts. And then there will be one level of, if in the complex cases, there will be a human oversight and continuousness. This is the kind of agentic flow you have, in which you might be using some of these agents. You might be using let's say a customer interaction agent at this level. You might be using an investigation agent at this level, which is investigating. You might be using workflow orchestration agent, which is accessing, which is kind of triggering workflows, or which is assigning responsibility to the people. You are maybe also having a resolution area, which takes input from everything and give the final resolution. You might be having one more layer of agent, which is just looking things from the compliance and monitoring perspective, whether whatever we have done, is it compliant or not, right? So this is kind of a agentic AI flow you are using in this simple customer interaction, customer service portal, or customer service process. So what you have done, customer service process, you break it down, and for each step of the process, you have assigned one agent, and that's why it is called agentic AI. And we decided based on ROI, based on the cost, ROI and the risk and everything, we decided that we should go with the medium risk and high value use case. And then we also saw that how you kind of token up, how do you handle the interviewer's objections. So basically, just to summarize whatever we discussed today, we discussed about, let me see, one second. We discussed about agentic AI, what is agentic AI, and how it is different than the way we use ChatGPT or the way maybe an AI agent work. Then we discussed a case study where we see the clarification question, then we set the objective, then we give the structure where we saw the business value as one lever, and the implementation, the risk, and the feasibility and the risk, and all those layers we analyzed. Then we analyzed data in terms of ROI and the risk, or risk and return basically. And then we recommended, and then we also defended our perspective from the recruiter, right? So just to summarize, listen carefully, paraphrase your understanding. Do not jump to solve any problem. Show your approach, ask question, make sure that you have understood the problem clearly. Take interviewer's hint, think aloud. If it is okay to get stuck, but do not give up. That's what you should be doing in any case study, right? And these are some of the resources, the McKinsey way. I've given all this link here. You can go. You can form a group of 2 to 3 students and do as much practice as possible. We are doing some AI automation, agentic AI. This is not Claude, by the way. This is anti-gravity. Sorry for that. So if you want to do some, so we are doing some workshop, paid workshop. If you want to do, you can take a screenshot of this. We are doing AI automation using N10. We are using agentic AI using anti-gravity. And yeah, and one more thing, if you want to do a lot of practice of these kind of case studies, you can copy this free tool, AI mentor link tool, which we have created, where you can go and you can do as much practice as you might like to do. So you can do that. Okay. So N10 is a tool which help you to create AI workflows. So for example, that customer service agent, that the entire flow, right, step by step can be done in N10. So N10 is a tool basically, which allow you to do AI automation, right? So and this is no. So agentic AI is a concept. Agentic AI is concept. N10 is one tool with which you can use. You can do AI automation or agentic AI automation. So agentic AI is a concept. N10 is one of the tool to achieve agentic AI. Yeah, right. And this is free for now. So you can do, and definitely give us feedback in this tool so that we can further improve it, right? And you can get a lot of practice. Not only case studies, you have so many case studies here, but you also have domain interviews, resume interviews, and all those interviews here. So you can check it out, give us more feedback to further improve it. and keep connecting with us. I think that's important. We would be doing some of these sessions regularly. So let's be in touch. And thank you so much and all the best. If you have any question, you can ask. Okay. So yeah, great. So I think yeah. So that's it for my side. If you want to connect with me, if you're not, we are not already connected. LinkedIn. Yeah. I've given my LinkedIn to all of you, and yeah, definitely let's be in touch. We'll be doing a lot of these sessions and all that. So let's be in touch. Thank you so much, guys, for joining in. All the very best. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. All the best.